According to a survey conducted by Pew Research Center in 2010, 84% of the world's population self-identified as belonging to a religion. And in 2011, a Gallup poll revealed that 9 out of 10 Americans believe in God. But what is God exactly? The Merriam-Webster definition of the word God is the creator and ruler of the universe, or the infinite mind. According to Wikipedia, God, as described by theologians, commonly includes the attributes of infinite knowledge, unlimited power, present everywhere, and perfect goodness. But if all of these are true, then why does God allow such horrific atrocities to occur on earth? Because it is clear that horrific things occur on the earth, it seems one or more of the following points must be true. Either it is good in God's eyes that some life forms on the planet suffer and are ultimately destroyed, or God is not all-knowing, not all-powerful, not present everywhere, not all good, does not exist, or some unknown factor we can't perceive of and or understand. But if God doesn't exist and never did, then where, why, and how did the concept originate? Apparently, the first recordings of monotheistic conceptions of God are from the Hellenistic period in ancient Greece. The earliest written form of the actual word God allegedly comes from the 6th century Christian Codex Argenteus, otherwise known as the Silver Book, which originally contained a 4th century translation of the Bible. Since the actual word God originated in the Bible, then it seems reasonable that the more accurate explanation of what God is would also be found in the biblical text. In the original language of the New Testament, the word translated later as God, word 2316, was theos, and it meant gods or goddesses. In the Old Testament, there are several different Hebrew words that were translated as God, such as El, Elohim, Eloah, Elah, Yahweh, etc. In the creation story in the very first chapter of the Bible, the word translated into English as God, number 430, was originally the Hebrew word Elohim, and the word is plural, which means it refers not to one being, but a group of beings. Genesis 1:26 confirms that when it says, "And God said, let us make man in our image." In addition, Yahweh, the word predominantly translated as Lord in the Old Testament, is also a group of beings, as shown in Genesis 11:6 and 7, where it says, "And the Lord said, let us go down." So the Bible is clear that the words God and Lord in the Old Testament refer to a group of beings. Genesis 1:27 also gives another important clue. It says God made man in his own image, both male and female. So the Elohim created humans in the Elohim's image. In the image of the Elohim, they were created male and female. If the Creator is the infinite mind, or a force in the universe, as some believe, then that would mean Genesis 1:27 is wrong. The Bible is the origin for the word God, and the very first thing it says about God is that humans have the image of God, both male and female. So according to the original source, God does not have 3 eyes or a bird face. God is not reptilian or a big mind. The creator God of the Bible, the Elohim, have a human form, both male and female. That's the first thing the Bible says about God. So if the oldest book in the Bible is very clear that the original word translated as God is plural and refers to a group of humanoid beings, then why do the majority of people refer to God as He, when the word would more accurately be referred to as they? The answer is that the God of the Bible is also referred to as the Father, primarily in the New Testament. But the first point the Bible makes about God is that the Elohim and the Yahweh are a group of beings, so how can they also be one Father? The most probable explanation is that the word Father is symbolic, since we know the biblical texts are full of symbolism. In a previous video, we closely examined Genesis 1 through 3 and found that the Bible is clear that the Elohim, a group of humanoid beings, both male and female, created new conditions in the earth and atmosphere, making this planet habitable for life. That is who God is, according to the oldest book in the Bible. And the New Testament says they are symbolized as a father. The word father immediately implies that there are also children, and if there are children, there must also be a mother. The Bible says the father symbolizes God, which is the Elohim, and the children presumably symbolize the humans, but who is the mother? In order to find out who represents the mother, we first need to find out why the Elohim are symbolized as the father. In human tradition, before someone became a father, he would be a bridegroom. And before a person became a mother, she would be a bride. A bride and bridegroom would join together at a marriage and immediately afterward would start producing children. Once the first child was born, about a year or so later, the bride and bridegroom would then become a mother and a father. The father, therefore, was a bridegroom originally. Since Genesis tells us the Elohim are the creator God that put life here on this planet, then it would make sense that the Elohim came here as the bridegroom originally and became the symbolic father after they planted life here. The New Testament tells us Jesus represents the bridegroom and is the Son of God, which translates literally to descendant of God. And if God refers to the Creator, then it's saying Jesus is a descendant of the Elohim. The texts also say Jesus is the Son of Man, which translates literally to descendant of humans. So Jesus represents both the descendants of the Elohim and the descendants of the humans. In the book of Luke, Jesus tells a riddle. A man plants a vineyard and lends it out to husbandmen and travels to a far country for a long time. Then when he sent his servants to reap the harvest, the husbandmen beat them and sent them away. Then the man sent his beloved son, and the husbandman killed his son. Then Jesus says, "What shall the Lord of the vineyard do? He shall come and destroy these husbandmen and give the vineyard to others." It's clear from this riddle that the man who planted the vineyard and left to a far country for a long time represents God, because it tells us the Lord of the vineyard sent his beloved son, which in other parts of the text is clearly God. So this tells us that the creators, the Elohim, left to a faraway place after they planted the vineyard, which is earth, and they will return after a long time. Throughout the Gospels, we're told the Son of Man, who is also the Son of God, the descendant of the Elohim, will return at some point in the future. Jesus said in John that he goes to prepare a place for you in the Father's house. In other words, the descendants of the Elohim will prepare a place for the humans in their house. We're told in Revelation 12 that the woman represents those who will escape to the place prepared by God, the Elohim. The woman will fly by the wings of an eagle to this place. And in Luke 17, we're told one will be taken and the other left, and they will be taken to where the eagles are gathered together at the Soma, which is Greek for heavenly stars. This is the elect being gathered together by the angels. We're told this place in heaven, the Father's house, the house of the Elohim, or the kingdom of heaven, is like a marriage. Matthew 22 says everyone is invited to go there, but unfortunately, not everyone wants to go. In other words, the Elohim are not going to force anyone to go somewhere they do not want to go. It's each person's right to choose, and many will choose not to go. The woman in Revelation 12 represents those who choose to go there, and it says she has a crown. In Isaiah 62, we're told Jerusalem is a crown and will be given a new name. In Revelation 21, we're told the holy city, New Jerusalem, is the bride that will come back to earth from heaven after the cataclysm. So New Jerusalem is the bride, which is the woman in Revelation 12. Revelation 12 tells us the woman will escape to the place God prepared for her, and they will feed her there. In Revelation 7, we're told a great multitude of people, which cannot be counted, of all nations will stand before the throne in heaven, and the Lamb will feed them there. Revelation 11 says, "Measure the temple of God, which is in heaven, and also measure the people inside, but do not measure the court. It is given to the multitude, and they will walk the holy city for 42 months. The holy city is in heaven, as explained in Revelation 21. The codes in these verses make it clear that the woman in Revelation 12 is the great multitude of all nations and the bride. The woman will be fed in the place prepared by the Elohim for 1260 days. The great multitude will be fed by the Lamb at the throne in heaven, and that multitude cannot be counted. That multitude will walk the holy city, which is in heaven, for 42 months, which is equal to 1260 days, the same time period the woman is in the place prepared by the Elohim. So the woman is the bride, which is the multitude of all nations on the earth that cannot be counted. A bride eventually becomes a mother traditionally. Therefore, the father is the bridegroom, which represents the Elohim. The mother is the bride, which represents the multitude of all tribes on the earth that will be rescued, and the children represent the descendants of both. We know this is not a bunch of nonsense because the texts that tell us this have accurately predicted the future in precise detail. The texts use symbolism to convey a literal truth. But why is this symbolism used? Why is the rescue represented as a marriage? Why are those rescued represented as a bride and the Son of God, the bridegroom? In Genesis 6:4, we're told the sons of God married the daughters of men and had children with them, and this occurs when humans begin to multiply on the earth. That's number 8 here in this list that shows how the biblical codes convey the message that the Nephilim are marrying humans during the historical phase coded as the feet, which the book of Daniel clarified is occurring right now and started roughly around 1945 through 1947. The difference between the sons of God marrying humans on earth and the Son of God marrying the bride at the rescue is, first, the sons of God in Genesis 6 refer to the Nephilim, which come down to earth. They're connected both linguistically and in the written codes to the dragon, the adversary of the Elohim, and the oppressors of humans. We're also told they mingle with the seed of humans, but humans will not cleave to them because they are like iron. Jesus said the thief and robber will enter into the sheepfold not by the door, but some other way. In Joel, we're told the locusts will enter in at the windows like a thief. But as for New Jerusalem, the bride that goes to heaven for the marriage for 3.5 years, he says, I will stand at the door and knock. Anyone who opens the door will sup with him. The difference between the sons of God that came down to earth to marry humans and the Son of God that brings the bride up for the marriage is clear. One group goes up and the other goes down. One knocks at the door and the other sneaks into the windows like a thief. The ancient book of Genesis is clear that God, the Elohim, are benevolent humanoids who are technologically advanced enough to terraform an entire planet. They left at some point in the past and will return in the future. Genesis 1 is clear the Elohim are not reptilians or slave drivers. It does not say their power is unlimited, it does not say they are everywhere at all times, and it does not say they know everything, but it does say they are good. If the Elohim left to a far country for a long time, as Luke 20 indicates, that may explain why their vineyard or garden has gone to weed. But the texts speak of the return, and many of the events which signal the return have occurred long after the texts were published, so we know that much of the Bible is true. So it stands to reason there are other elements within these texts that are also true, such as the terraforming of the earth by the Elohim, their exit, and their planned return. This is not religious dogma, but instead is a process of discovery. If you want more information, the whole series playlist, Bible's Countdown to the Asteroid, is linked here, and there are several other videos linked in the description below. Just click on Show More to open up more links on this subject. If you like this video and want this research to continue, please consider providing support. I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you next week.